Yo, what's good, man? How's your day? How's your life? How's the husband? How's the wife? I'm glad you're doing all right. For today's video, I'm going to be explaining some unique concept. It is direct characterization and indirect characterization. You may be wondering, what is direct and indirect characterization, and why am I telling you this? The reason why I'm telling you about direct and indirect characterization is because using one of these strategies can help you create your own original characters. However, before we get into direct and indirect characterization, we have to understand what characterization is. So, characterization is the way in which an author creates personality. We will first start off with direct characterization. So, direct characterization is when the author gives us explicit details about a character. They directly tell us about them. So, we will use a Food Wars character, for example. We use the MC from Food Wars. You can tell just by how he looks that he is a chef. You don't need to know his personality. You don't need to know how he speaks to others. You don't need to know how he thinks. Just by off his looks, you can tell that he's a chef. And that is what direct characterization is. You're telling the viewer what this character is without saying nothing else. The next one is indirect characterization. This is when you, the artist, gives clues to a character's personality. You need to steal. When I mean steal, I'm not saying steal from other people. I'm saying speech, thoughts, effects on others, actions, and looks. That is what steal means in this context for indirect characterization. How you want to describe your character's personality is by how they talk, how they think, what is their influence or effects on others, what do they do in terms of action, and how do they look. So let's take Naruto, for example. How does Naruto speak? How does he think? What is his effect on the other characters in Konoha? How does he look? And what are his actions? And so now I will be giving both pros and cons of using direct and indirect characterization. In stating the pros and cons of using direct characterization. So here are the pros. Pro number one, direct characterization provides clarity about characters' traits, motivations, and personality by explicitly stating them, which can help readers quickly understand and connect with the character. Number two, efficiency. Direct characterization can convey important information about the character in a relatively short amount of time, making it an efficient way to introduce characters and establish their roles in the story. Number three, control. Direct characterization allows authors to have more control over how their characters are perceived by readers, as they can carefully craft descriptions and statements to shape their readers' understanding of the character. Now get into the cons of using direct characterization. Firstly, lack of subtlety. Direct characterization can be less subtle than indirect characterization, as it explicitly tells the reader about the character's traits rather than allowing them to infer them from the character's actions, thoughts, and dialogue. Direct characterization often involves telling the reader about the character's traits rather than showing them through their behavior, which can lead to less engaging and immersive reading experience. Direct characterization runs the risk of reducing characters to stereotypes or one-dimensional representations, as artists may rely on cliches or superficial descriptions to convey the character's traits. Into the pros and cons of indirect characterization. Firstly, indirect characterization allows for subtle portrayal of characters' traits, motivations, and personalities through their actions, thoughts, and dialogue, which can create a more nuanced and engaging reading experience. Engagement. By requiring viewers to infer and interpret the character's traits based on subtle clues, Indirect characterization can engage viewers more deeply in the story, encouraging active participation and investment in the characters. 3. Indirect characterization can create complex and multidimensional characters by revealing different facets of their personality over time, allowing for more depth and richness in character development. Pros sound good. We will now get into the cons of indirect characterization. First off, indirect characterization can sometimes be vague, leaving room for interpretation by the reader, which may lead to misunderstandings about the character's traits or motivations. Finally, if indirect characterization is not executed consistently throughout the story, it can lead to inconsistencies in how characters are portrayed, which may confuse or frustrate viewers. Crafting indirect characterization effectively often requires more time and skill than direct characterization, as artists need to carefully weave clues throughout the narrative without being too obvious or heavy-handed. So now you may be wondering, after hearing the pros and cons of direct and indirect characterization, which one should you use for creating stories and your OC? And honestly, that is up to you. Do you, as an artist, want to directly tell the viewer about your OC and what this story is? Or do you want to indirectly tell your viewer about your OC's story and your OC? Just make sure you are careful. Make sure you use a balance of both, but make sure to keep it simple. Don't go over the top. Can you be flashy? Yes. But there is a limit to how much you can really do. I'm not saying you can't do it. I'm just saying I don't require you to do it.